Welcome everyone to another episode of the established 1982 podcast, the Geek Culture Podcast, hosted by responsibly irresponsible adults that have loved video games, comic books, movies, and TV ever since 1982. It's your boy Wally Analog, and I'm joined, of course, by Mr. 1%, the resident elitist, the gatekeeper of civility and order, Rolls Royce Elise.
I'm gonna use Ettores.
Ajia. He was standing in for him. He's not here today. The Cerebral Ninja is not here, so in his honor, we give him that Ajia. And today we have the pleasure of being with us today. Two amazing indie artists in the game, indie comic book artists in the game. Very talented brothers, and you all both are based in the Memphis 10. Is that correct? Is that right? Both of y'all represent Memphis 10. Yep. We have Martheus Wade, artist extraordinaire. Tell the people about what you got going on and what you're doing and what you're involved in.
Well, right now, what we got going on is that the big thing is that I recently got laid off at my main job. So what I did was I actually started my own graphic design business based here in Memphis. Our goal is to be able to serve like small businesses, helping them to look big, and being able to get them, to the next level in their business career. So marketing and things like that, helping them with marketing, helping them with their look, refreshing brands that have gone dead and things like that. And then the second thing is that me and my wife and my son, we work on this comic book called Shinobi Ninja Princess, and it's done really, really well. We recently got I'll see that.
There we go.
You got the book. There you go. It's done recently. It's done really well recently, and we are in the process of working on the next volume of books. So the next 6-issue miniseries is going to be out pretty soon, and we're working on that as well. And we are also working with the Heal the Hood Foundation of Memphis, and we're working on their comic book as well, which is going to be in the Memphis City schools, circulating around the Memphis City schools next in 2020, fall 2020 and spring 2021. So those are the big projects that we got going on right now. Other projects that I have with William right here, that's going to be awesome. That's coming up too, that I'm working on, and some top secret projects with some pretty big names in entertainment industry, in the history of entertainment industry. So we're working on some stuff, and that's going to be coming up pretty soon as well. So yeah, trying to keep it busy.
That's right. And now's the time to do it. And again, representing Memphis also, artist, storyteller extraordinaire, Mr. Quinn McGowan. Sir, how are you today?
I'm well. So much like Martheus, there are a few things that I cannot talk about, but things that I can talk about. We're just recently off of a project that I put together with a couple of other partners of mine, Jason Reeves and oh my goodness, Michael Young. My mind just kind of literally went blank. It was an event called a Rent Party. It was our first virtual convention. It went really well. So like we're looking at some stuff from there. I have something in that same vein that's coming up around the time of Comic-Con. So let's see. I got Project Wildfire, which we produce here at Legends Press, and due to the quarantine and a bit of stir craziness, myself and Ryan put together a talk show by accident that has now grown grossly out of control. And we're developing a video game with some other creatives called The Union that we're doing some beta testing on things like the moves and making sure that the movements sync up. It's a 2D side scroller, very old school vibe, but just finding ways to get the IP out into the world and connect with people. So making and telling stories for bunches of clients. So there are a few projects out. I think we're doing an HIV prevention with Black Women's Health Initiative. I'm working with some clients out of Germany on a tattoo-related comic book that we should have ready here in a little bit, and a bunch of other stuff that I'm sure will be around.
Cool. Excellent. And again, man, thank you guys for, joining us today and providing insight in an area where you all have a lot of skin in the game. Black artists matter. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this geek culture thing that we hold so dear. And I say that, a little tongue in cheek, but at the same time, I'm quite serious about that. And especially with the times that we're in today. We felt that we would be doing a disservice if we didn't at least address issues that we're seeing in society today. Now, not to diminish what's going on outside of the culture, right? As it is very, very serious, but yet and still the foundation of it all is still racism and things of that nature. Where there are those in positions of power, there is the potential for there to be racism. So we just wanted to bring you two gentlemen in to kind of discuss, some of the things that people may very well not be hip to as far as the comic book game, geek culture game, as it relates to you Black artists. And some of the things that you've seen and just trying to give an education out there because, our culture, our industry is one where people probably don't realize that a lot of that is going on. But if it's a business, you better believe that is going on. So that's really the purpose of this today. We wanted to, bring a podcast that is one that is one of awareness in this thing that we love so much. So again, I just want to thank you guys for coming today and doing that. So I feel like I've been doing a whole lot of talking. Rowls, is there anything else you want to add to this before we get all the way in?
Yeah. I just want to thank you guys. I'm inspired by your guys' grind. Man, the ultimate question I want to ask right now before we just really dive into it is it's been a rough couple of weeks for us as Black men, Black families, but how are y'all doing? How are y'all navigating through everything?
Quinn, you want to go? How you doing on it?
For me personally, you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, video froze, I think, but keep going.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No, we still hear you though. Keep going.
Okay, good deal. For me, I'm fortunate, in some degrees, and in some degrees not so much. So my sons are all legally adults, right? Like all of my kids, even my youngest is 18.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. My youngest is here. I have a blended family, so my namesake is at my mother's house because she stays closer to where he goes to university. My oldest is out living his own life, so he's got a place of his own. So we are there, but like my namesake's birthday is going to be on Tuesday, and we're really observing social distancing. So that's really rough on me in as much as I would like to do things, take them places, get them something to eat. Can't do any of that stuff, right? So it's rough to that degree, but, we're all looked after. We're all taken care of. Fortunately, no one's exhibited any physical symptoms, right? There's no accounting for being asymptomatic, but, fortunately, nobody's come down with anything or been really sick. So we're dealing from the COVID standpoint. Now, in that same breath, I got 3 boys and all of them are legally adult men.
Yeah.
Right? But they are my boys. they're my children. You understand what I'm saying? And my children are vulnerable in a moment and in a way that I have absolutely no power, right? So it's a little perverse, right? There's this weird survivor's guilt, right? Like a lot of artists are struggling right now. I got a few jobs on the table, right? I worry for my sons, and I hate that people are sick. I know that we're at 2 million confirmed cases. I know that we're over 100,000 people who have died from this disease. But I'm kind of glad because my children are inclined to kind of observe those social distancing norms, which means there's less likelihood that they could get shot by the cops. So it's this weird hodgepodge of the situation and the thankfulness, right? So there is that continued essence of Blackness in America and the kind of perfect, like they always say, it's not paranoia if you know that they're out to get you, right? Like if they're actually trying to get you, then you're not being paranoid. So I am weirdly thankful for a paradigm that kind of puts me in proximity to my folks and my family, and kind of just appreciating that. I've been telling my wife a lot lately that now feels like the 80s, right? With a little bit less going out, people are kind of just coming straight home. There's only so much TV you can watch. I've been seeing more of my neighbors just kind of come out on the porch and just sit out. Because what is there left to do except just get real air and kind of see the outside a little bit? So it's a weird place of thankfulness and the obvious. It's so bad out there for many of us that the world is catching up to what is very normal for us. So there's also that malaise. So like there are a lot of feelings, but overall I'm good. From the Sylvia Plath standpoint, we're all dying, but I guess it's all good otherwise.
Cool. Martheus, what about you and your fam, man?
Man, I've honestly had I've always had like a very weird relationship with race and having to deal with it, just because I married a woman who is, her dad's white, her mom is Chinese. And when I mean she's her mom is like, she speaks English, but she is not like her first language, you know what I'm saying? So I've had like interesting, ever since we got together, I've had this weird type of strangeness, man, with race and being able to have to, on one hand, accept who I am, but also fight what people think of me. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, this time has been, on one hand, real hard because I've been kind of faced with a lot of stuff and a lot of things that I've been able to ignore for a while just because I've had to. All right. So I really don't know how to explain it, but because my first love is comics. My second love is graphic design, and they're really close. Like they run neck and neck. Like I really love graphic design. I really love typography, but I also love comic books, and the two of those go together because they both could tell a really compelling story, either for a business or for a group of people or for Superman, you know what I mean? And I love storytelling. So they've been really, really close to my heart. But because of that, those two entities are controlled by mainstream, you know what I mean? And mainstream meaning predominantly white people. So I've had to streamline who I am for such a long time, to where when you get to a point to like this and you're still seeing people like us getting killed and stuff like that, it's real hard, man. Yeah. It brings back a whole lot of things. When me and Janet first got married, it wasn't very, her mother hated it. You know, she wanted her to marry someone that was either Chinese doctor or a white guy. You know, a black dude that is a artist was way down there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When we had a kid, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't all that. You know, it wasn't seen as something that was great. You know, and to this day, you know, he's kind of looked at kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? They having a relationship with him, but they kind of don't. You know what I'm saying? And then so you have that going on, and then you have on the outside where you think you're making traction, whereas like I've always been art first. I could care less about what you think about me, but artwork needs to be first, which means that I could care less if my face is seen on every artwork picture, but if you saw a piece that I did and it spoke to you and you bought that piece and you didn't even know who I was, right? I'm gravy. Like I could care less because it affected you in a way that moved you enough to take that piece and you didn't care who did it. You just took it home with you, right? So when you think you're making traction and you're doing things like billboards that's seen around Memphis, folks don't know who I am. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing billboards that's around Memphis. You're doing jersey designs that the whole Memphis Redbirds team is wearing. You know what I'm saying? You're doing Grizzly designs for the Redbirds team that the Grizzlies NBA team are coming in and be like, dude, we want some of them. You know what I'm saying? They don't know me. If I walked up to a person right now and said, hey, I designed that jersey you had on, they look at me like I was crazy. I don't care. Right? Because the artwork comes first. But then you get to times like this and you realize that it matters. It matters to people if I look the way that I did, and I did that. Because 9 times out of 10, somebody, if they would have seen that and they knew that I did that, it might have just affected if they would have bought it or not. And that's hard. That's hard to deal with. Because I'm not built that way. You know what I'm saying? I'm built in a way in my head that my family is a reflection of who I am. The fact that she is mixed, the fact that he is mixed, the fact that we get along, the fact that I have a lot of friends who are multiracial, you know what I'm saying, within their families. That speaks a lot to who I was. When I went to art school, and I realized this kind of messed me up, right? Because I went to art school, and art school was completely different from the way that it is in the real world, because we were all in that computer lab together for 8, 10, 12 hours doing projects together, and we didn't give a care. The only thing that we had to do was get that project done and get that grade. But when we get out of school, that does not work. It doesn't compute anymore. It matters on who you are. It matters on what you look like. And I've been able to, to kind of get back to what you're saying. I've been able to kind of, up until now, kind of be able to take myself and separate my emotions from the artwork, separate my emotions from how I deal with people. And now being able to be in this environment and the things that's going on and people and black men getting shot, friends and stuff that are being worried about their kids, and they're pleading to I had one of my friends, she was pleading to, neighbors to watch her kid because her kid loves to run. He was on the track team, and track hasn't been they haven't been able to meet and do things like that. So he's been trying to stay fit. So he's been running the green line. The green line it stretches almost all the way through Memphis. And he's been running the green line. But that's dangerous in today's time. But she can't watch him. He's a teenager. You got to let them kind of go a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Let them have a little space. But how can she give them a little bit of space when all of this is going on? So she pleading with family members and neighbors and people that know him to just watch him while he running, make sure that he okay. You shouldn't have to do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff is really hard on me. It's stressful. The COVID part of it, just like Quinn said, man, seriously, the COVID part of it has helped me to be able to deal with the racial part of it, because I'm not
that's real talk.
The irony
real talk,
there,
yeah, that's real.
Right. I'm not the dude that's on the street anymore. And guess what? If I'm trying to be safe and I wear a mask, it's not like you looking at me no more and saying that dude finna rob something.
Right.
You look, because I'm trying to be safe. I'm trying to be safe for me and you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The COVID part of it has helped me with the racial part of it. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm not on the street, I'm not scared for my life.
Right.
I've told some of my friends, they live in Mississippi and they want me to come out and be like, hey man, won't you come to just drive through and say hey to my family and stuff? And I'm just like, man, any other time in my life I would have. Right now, not so much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I gotta be careful. And it's nothing to them. It's nothing to them at all. I love them. You know what I'm saying? But I just gotta be careful for me and my son, because folks don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And Martheus, man, let me add to what you were saying. When you were saying that your work, you don't matter when it comes to the work, man. Mm-hmm. Look, the work that you create, we need to start changing the narrative, because you are potentially inspiring people, man. They see your artwork and they need to see the face that's behind it. And just know that, man. Just know that.
I met Martheus for the first time at Comics and Collectibles. Right. I stood in the line, and it was, okay, so for me, my old man brought home, and I tell the story a lot, but my old man brought home, Ebony, a jet, what have you, right? It was a Doers ad. Had Dennis Cowan in that joint, looking like a real player. He had the high top joint going on with the open fly collar. He had Batman up on the drawing table in the back with a big thing of cognac on the thing. He just real player like, just talking about drawing cartoon. So that was my old man letting me know that it could be done, right? But that guy's, he's all the way in New York City or California. He might as well be on Mars.
Right.
I'm in high school and I go and see this cat. He doing a signing, right? Like I'm cutting through the fence, ducking out of ROTC class early. Come see this cat. You understand? So don't sleep on the value of you registering to who you are. And when we look at this from a historical standpoint, and Martheus can speak to this, he can attest to it. Even if you go all the way back to the very first Black comic book, it's a cowboy adventure. It's called Lobo. At a time when the average comic book sold for 10 cents, Lobo sell for 15. That's how bad they don't want your kind read. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And this is another thing that I've been kind of engaging with and dealing with personally. Because of how I am, people who know me know that where Martheus speaks to the strength and kind of coalescing with everybody in his family, which is absolutely a beautiful thing. I am noticeably, decidedly pro-Black in my agenda, in my speaking out into the world. And so I engage regularly against and towards racists. So in our genre, there is Comicsgate, right? Which is born out of sad puppies from the literary world, which is just these organizations of racists who want to keep some kind of agenda of purity around what they think entertainment should be. And so what I've been wrestling with is a reality that's kind of harsh. A lot of what they're arguing is true for them, because the reality is comic books are a white male power fantasy at their base. When they were designed, they were these things that were largely for a white male audience to be entertained by. So in their mind, it's right that the Native American is the faithful and dutiful sidekick, that the Black guy is the reformed criminal who, Falcon was a pimp and then they made him into the super. That's what we're supposed to be for them, because vicariously they make the decision to do what is right, but they don't even, it's so hollow to them that they can't do it in the real world. So I say all of this to say that, like, when I'm doing the work and I know that I'm actively working in subversion. And I took that on as a job tactic, because until we're at a point where a kid can just draw and the character happens to be Black or happens to be Chinese or happens to be Japanese, then somebody, not everybody, because it's not for everybody. Like, we all have very, very different roles in what we do, right? Like Martheus, with the stories that he tells, they're the energy around family, around the idea of him telling stories about young people who are developing and learning how to be the kinds of people, like the way that he's telling his story, that's a very necessary thing. But until everybody can tell their stories in that way, somebody got to be down in that gutter fighting about this, because on the outset, they're okay with killing us, right? Like, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial here. The police department is descended from slave patrol and slave catching, right? There are these unaired laundries that are only now being dealt with in America. Only now. It's 2020. You understand? And so, like, when I talk about fearing for my babies or fearing for my boys, it's the idea that, you know, like they killed this brother in Atlanta and everybody, oh, well, he took the taser. I can show you footage on Twitter right now of a young white kid took the taser, jumped in the police car, skied it off, and then did a bunch and is alive. There's a guy right now
that did the same thing. There was a guy right now that they came up that was just on social that popped up where he did the same exact thing, and he alive. They got him in custody. They're talking about how he was crazy. You know what I mean? How he's got mental problems.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel you on that.
So you mentioned something, Quinn, like you're talking about it's 2020. Like, question I have for you guys is, like, you know, since the rise of all the superhero movies and TV shows, we got the rise of Marvel Studios. We've seen an increase in diversity and inclusion. I mean, you got Supergirl, they're talking about, they have a transgender character. Iris West is Black. I mean, just go down the list. We got Falcon. It's a different origin story than the original comic book.
Right.
You know, that kind of deal. What are your thoughts on that trend? Like, what are your general thoughts? Like, how do you feel? Like, for me as a consumer, I there's a little giddiness, like, wow, we're finally being represented. Like, it's embedded. It's like, you know, I was in tears at Black Panther. Like, I couldn't even
I'll let Martheus
right. So
man,
Martheus, we talked about this, Martheus, a little bit. Like, you drop some science on this one.
I feel it's twofold, man. One is that did it need to happen? Yes. You know what I'm saying? It needs to happen. It needed to happen. And that's why it had like things like Black Panther had a visceral, emotional feel for people who went to see it. You know what I'm saying? That needed to happen. The problem that I have with it. So yeah, on that end, yes, you know, I agree. Cause I was with you, Ryan, man. I was sitting in, for one, I was kind of like, when I went to see it, I was like, man, I didn't want to really go see it. And I'll tell you why. But first, but then when I did see it and I saw how true it was and what Ryan Coogler was actually saying in this, especially between Killmonger and Black Panther,
right?
It speaks exactly to what's going on with the Black community, inside the Black community right now.
That's right.
Okay. So in that respect, I was like, at the end of the movie, I was like, damn, that was really good. The problem is that I had with it is when you get down to dollars and cents, okay, who's making the money? Now, all of those actors were Black, except for one, and Winter Soldier. You know what I'm saying? Right? Well, a couple.
Yeah, it was three. It was three. Claw, Winter Soldier, and
right.
Dude, yeah.
So they got work. The crew got work. Ryan Coogler got work. Writer got work. They had a black guy that was actually an advisor on how Wakanda was supposed to be put together. He got work. You know what I'm saying? But even though Marvel Studios, the movie entity, and Marvel Comics, they branched off. They're split, and there's a reason why they did that too. Ike Perlmutter controls Marvel Comics, so Marvel Comics is over.
I was going to get to that. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
So you got Marvel Comics over here. Ike Perlmutter is a big time Donald Trump fan. He's give money. It's trackable. You can see this. He's given money to the Trump campaign for his election. Now, okay, you still have Disney over here / Marvel Entertainment, the studio. They have split off from that because they didn't want to be a part of that whole dynamic. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when you look at it, money still has to track back over here at some point.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all of us going out supporting this little nugget of thing that they gave us is still going to track back to helping this dude over here. That's the problem that I had with going to go see it. Was it necessary? Yes.
Yeah.
People need to see that because I have friends who are white who went to see it and they were like, damn, that was good. And they were legit for real. They really enjoyed it. They looking forward to seeing Black Panther. And the bad part about it was when Black Panther got, okay, spoiler alert, when Black Panther got knocked out in not in the end game, but in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Pissed. You just came off of this movie over here and you're gonna wipe out the brother that was the coldest Marvel character that you had up until this point. You're gonna wipe him out. And the reason why is because they didn't know what they had in the first place when they first wrote that script.
Right.
You know, they didn't know. The bad part of all this stuff, you have to, until we get to a point to where money, creativity, the people behind the scenes are matching up with the thing that's out there. If Iris West is Black, that's great. But is there a Black writer on that script? I'm not sure. It might be. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Do they have Black directors every once in a while coming in for 1 or 2 episodes?
Right.
Do you have anybody since Wally West is Black inside of the DC multiverse, because they have 2 Wally West now. Since Wally West is Black inside there, are there any Black writers? Are you seeking those voices out to be heard, to make him ring true?
To make it all
They don't have to be main writers on everything that comes out. I'm not saying that. But how do you know that Wally West is true? Now, on the flip side of that, and this is going to be kind of weird. On Marvel, when they just came out with, wasn't the New Mutants, the New Warriors, okay?
Right.
The New Warriors.
Gosh, yeah, that was
horrible.
It was horrible.
It was a train
This is
wreck.
what happened.
Pandering.
I'm not going to even go back into that. Like, there's so much going on with that whole like dynamic of that team that they set up to do this stuff with, that it is just wrong. Now, if you go back and you look at this and you go back to the people who are in charge of creating this, they haven't had to work with that same type of diversity that they're trying to track out. They may mean well, but they don't have to do it. They don't have to live with that diversity every day.
Right.
You know, so if you don't have to live with it, how you gonna tell somebody else that they have to? You can't.
That's a huge, so because I there's so much that I want to piggyback on, but I kind of want to track back. So for me, there's always this existing divide. as an indie guy, right? I make a guy, he's got a cape, he's got a letter on his chest, he can fly, he can punch a thing, he's pretty strong, but he can't punch the Joker. Right? There's nothing he can do about Dr. Octopus. There's nothing in canon that he can do. So when I was younger, hungrier, you know, I took it all personally. Marvel and DC, they can both, everybody can get it. What I realized is that there's a kid in second grade, there's a kid in fourth period English, right? That this can't help him because he wants to be in the conversation with DC or Marvel, these holders of the world's greatest IP. So, you know, when we did Rent Party, one of the things that I praised David Walker for is the necessity of his voice to do exactly what Martheus is talking about, being available in those large spaces to ring true. To the original question around how I feel about it, it's very simple for me. These companies own intellectual property. At the end of the day, the connection that Martheus described between Marvel proper and Marvel Entertainment is tacit at best only because, and this is very important for the kids out there, if you want to get into comics, you have to understand that this is a job that most of us do not because we want to, but because we have to. It is not lucrative because the connection between the movie and the comic is, again, tacit at best. The comic is a placeholder. The job of the existence of the comic, even being printed at all, is to retain the rights to the intellectual property. It is the basis upon which...
And to build on your brand.
Right, to build on that existing brand. So what made comics the perfect marriage with the movie business is this. Movies, ideally, even though they are not television, they would like to serialize, right? We had Rocky 1, Rocky 2, we had a bunch of Alien, bunch of that stuff. So comics are perfect for that, in that the protagonists in those stories fight literal, never-ending battles, right? It's the perfect thing. So it is a logical then move forward to have to diversify those spaces and to have to atone for just about every Black character being a pimp formally. And ironically, even though DC is the home of hometowns that don't really exist, right? Metropolis is it. But when it was time for some brothers, they all came from Harlem until we invented Dakota. Harlem's the one real world place that existed in DC in the early days. Everybody else got a fake city. Black people, put them in Harlem. So there is an atonement that has to happen in the mainstream. That's just gonna happen because they want your money. We're gonna give them the money because we like explosions, right? Like we have to settle with the wave of popular culture. The key word in popular culture is that it's popular. So Black Panther, right? So, man, and you know, like everything he said is true. The Pearl Mother of it all, like all of that is absolutely true. When watching that movie, it is always the dialogue between, and this is one of those us things, like you know, like when we look at coming out of segregation, and King talking about the fear of the burning house, what we lost was a trust in the value of our work. Like after segregation, everything about our work became filtered through the lens of our proximity to whiteness. It ain't good if Marvel ain't putting it out. So it doesn't matter that Martheus is a craftsman with literal decades of experience at his craft, that if you ever looked at an issue of Shinobi, if you looked at the collected works or the individual, they stand next to anything. The man's a hound when it comes to not only producing his work, but what it looks like when it's printed. How it come, like he's about the work. Most of us that are in the craft are. So we're not doing it to get picked up by Marvel. Marvel is not the NBA. We're not looking to be walk-on prospects, right? So, you know, and I've talked to Ryan at length about recontextualizing the discussion about indie comic books at large, right? That we should look at indie comics the way we look at independent film. Right? Whether you're a teenage kid out there on the street shooting with no permit, or whether you're making a documentary about hot sauce, whatever you're doing, right? There is a respect for the overall craft to it. And a lot of times, I think independent artists are looked at in comics as somehow like we missed our shot with the big boys, or somehow we're resentful or something. So I think there has to be recontextualization around those conversations. So the idea that Ryan Coogler, coming off of Black Panther, chooses to become attached to Bitterroot, which is David Walker's thing, which is an indie thing, right? That kind of transfer, like that, to me, that's a hustle move. That's player stuff. That's what I like about Coogler. That's what I like about Marshawn Lynch. That's what I like about West Coast cats cut of that cloth, is they make moves lateral that way to say, okay, you like me, you like this Creed, you like this Fruit Bell, let's take it over here to these other cats. And so I think when I see that, I am encouraged, right? Because I'm from the hood, and like when it comes to Dodge and Perlmutter, my streaming game is strong. That's about the extent that I'll go in on that. So I'm dead inside, and I tell stories. I don't have to sit in the theater for that experience. So I was pretty solid on how I went about it, but not even I could resist, going to the theater. But even with that, talking about Black Panther, and I say this all the time, we respond to being seen, right? If I want to see a dude fly, I'll cut on a basketball game. I want to see a dude run through a wall, I'll look at the NFL. If you remember being in that theater, it was a much louder pop in Black Panther when Killmonger says, "Hey, auntie," than anything that happened here, cutting the flip on the truck and jumping down the hole. And we all know what the CGI looked like in that last scene. Let's just be real about it. It was the being seen. It was a brother going, that challenge, that's over. It was, what are those? Those were the moments that stood out to us, because it was $250 million saying, we see you. We know you exist. And once, you ain't got to be a slave. You ain't got to get whooped. And that's a strange thing about Black Panther. When you take a Black protagonist, you take out the trauma of slavery, the trauma of the Black African-American experience, T'Challa as a character is kind of dry.
Yes.
Little milk toast. Little on I got a lot more vibes out of Killmonger. Got a lot more out of Shuri. Forrest Whitaker and his lazy eye. More interesting in character. Just being real with
Absolutely.
you. So, but I know I went off on a tangent, but just like, we know that it's all game, but it is nice to be invited, right? There are few people more patriotic at heart than Black folk, right? First person to die for this country, Crispus Attucks, right? We are in the very DNA of building this thing. Of course we want to be associated. Of course we want to be a part. We have every right, every single right. So we should be recognized by those spaces, but it's got to be real. I'm sick of seeing a Black square with white letters. We stand in solidarity with the Black community. Insert the name of the brand here. We want to stand with you, but we're not going to acknowledge what the problem is. We're not going to say anything about what needs to be done to fix it. We don't even want to acknowledge that we're probably part of the problem. We just hope that you seeing these white letters on this Black square make you feel better about us. And when you protesting and walking past our storefront, you don't knock the glass out. Oh, but that wasn't Black folks doing it no way.
Well, and the reason I ask that question is, I think what I find sobering, and one thing that I've been wrestling with this discussion on race and people asking, how are you doing, Ryan? Like with Martheus, like comic books was a reason I got into art and design, and it was an escape. Like comic books were escape whenever I had something that was like didn't want to deal with or bad, or there was bad news. I remember when the Challenger blew up, I wanted to be an astronaut. Like I remember physically getting sick. Like I had to go home, like, because I was messed up about it. But comic books was that thing that kept me sane. And then I guess to hear your guys' story about your perspective on the industry, it's the thing that you love, the thing that provides the medicine to get through in life. there's this insidious systemic racism attached to it, which is, that's just crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nuts.
Yeah, and,
you know, and it's built into the thing is, I think Joe Budden said it best on his podcast. Like, America is set up like a corporation. Like, every system that's in place is set up for capitalism. How do we juice the most money out of folks? How do we use whatever belief systems, whether it's Christianity, racism, whatever, to get people to respond economically?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is sad and troubling. And I hope during this time, people focus on that and not on the little trivial things that are, you know, happening on social media, you know?
I'm strangely encouraged, just because, like, so, you know, like, I try to be careful with comparisons, but when it comes to comics, I came into comics very late. I came in as a full-grown adult. Like, when my first shots, right, I was 17 and I tried to get something off at Ann Arbor Press and it kind of died in the cradle. So I'd taken my shot, but like really getting into work professionally, you know, the past decade or whatever. So I was an adult when I came in. I've had the good fortune to work with a lot of brothers and sisters who had already been through a lot of that stuff. So I had guideposts, right? And it's not unlike much of life as a Black person, right? So you have folks that have kind of already seen the racism, dealt with it, and can kind of help you navigate it. Mm-hmm. Also, there's something interesting about the turn in time that we're in, right? Like, on one hand, we can confront racism because we have cameras and we can kind of, you know, it's always been there, but now we can document it, right? I do not bite my tongue. So when I came in, I had no expectation of partnership. People wanted to be associated with me because, like, if you look at my Twitter, you know, like, people who know me, like, if you look at my Twitter, I'm wild. Like, go ahead and follow Memphis Quinn, right, at Memphis Quinn if you dare. Like, if that's something you're into. But like, I don't bite my tongue and I don't pull punches. So I never really expected anybody to work with me. So like, when people like Gail Simone started following me, and this is like pre-COVID, you know, white people guilt trip times, because like now, and I know I'm supposed to be getting asked questions, but I'll throw this out to everybody. Is anybody else Black getting a bunch of emails, a bunch of like invites to like check out jobs, and a bunch of people being interested in your work all of a sudden, folks who you've been in their Rolodex, they've been had your number, and now all of a sudden they want to check on you? Like, it's a weird time. So I never really expected to be messed with. So I'm encouraged because people seem to like there are some people who are not Black, who are trying to stay in the space of allies, who are trying to do what's right. So for me, that's encouraging, right? Like the biggest disappointment is finding out that people who are in positions of power in comics are more closely aligned to supervillains than they are heroes. But like most good comic books, it's a small band of us that are really dedicated, that do want to do what's right. And so being around them and knowing that they're talented, and like sometimes you get to meet your heroes or whatever, and they're cool, that's encouraging for me. So I know it's rough on the overall, and I know kind of the illusion of like everybody's friends and we're all in the bullpen together, that might be broken. But I'd rather look at this stark reality and see hope than to get sold a lot. Right. So that's my two cents.
Yeah.
That being said, you know, just hearing a lot of the things that you that both of you had to say, and it's clear that you've seen a lot and you've been through a lot, and as a result, it shaped you as both an artist and a person. My question is, was there ever, you know, in the early stages of your career, was there ever an enthusiastic, optimistic Martheus or an enthusiastic, optimistic Quinn. I don't want to use the word naive because, I would imagine, I don't know if it were me, I would be one that would have hopes and aspirations and some goals that I wanted to achieve. Did that person exist at one point or another in your career? And as a result, I can tell now that things have changed, if that were the case. So that's essentially my question, and I got a follow up for that. When you elaborate.
Well, for me, yeah. I mean, that person, I would like to think that he still exists somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like deep down, I do this thing, and I always say this. I love comics. I love the medium of reading comics. I love the medium of photos, illustrations to words where you can read them together in a panel to create an emotion. Like I said before, I love comics. Hate the business. That's the one thing that I didn't understand. Okay, so going into it, it was all love. It was all love because the only thing that I saw was the comics. You know what I'm saying? That was the only thing. The only thing that mattered to me, again, like I said before, was the work, the comic, the story. That was what it was. Everything else was like, if I made money on it, that's gravy. You know what I'm saying? The thing that I didn't realize is that the business aspect of it, it will change you. It will change you in a way because you have to change either in order to keep that love for yourself. You're going to have to harden your outside core, or you're going to have to get out. That's just the bottom line. For instance, the thing that killed me the most was that when I first started, when I first got into researching comics, I don't even want to say started. When I got to researching, this is the thing that I want to do. There were, I think, 3 distributors of comics. And then by the time that my first book got ready to come out when I graduated from college, that was Diamond. That messed me up. That was the first thing that I ran into. The very first thing. The difficulty in me getting that first book through Diamond was the second time. Okay? Because they denied me 6 times. They denied distribution of my book 6 times. And the only time that they actually put the book through was when I went through Shooting Star, which is another same book, same exact book, mind you. I had to go through somebody else, get their approval, and then go through Diamond. That was the second time. Okay. The third time is when I had a person, one of my writer friends, he wrote a lot for a company. I could say the name. I'm thinking about saying the name. But William, you know who it is. You know who it is because we talked about it.
Yeah.
He worked for the company. I did a lot of work for the company. All right. If they looking at this, they know who they are too. No. All right. I did a lot of work for them. You know what I mean? I did a lot of stuff for their books that were prospect books that were like, hey, we got to make a good impression with the owners of this property. Let's put Martheus on it. Martheus worked quick. He worked cheap. He'll get it done. I did it. Knocked it out the park. They got some lucrative stuff on it. Still got the lucrative stuff today. They won't take a call from me. Not even one call. When I was this is how they work. When I was submitting Shinobi Ninja Princess to other companies to look at for possibly being able to be picked up, I said, hey, let me send it to my contact. Let me send it to my editor contact over here. Okay. I think it was like 12:30 12:30. Yeah, it was right after I finished eating. So it was about like 12:30. It was almost 1 o'clock. By the time I finished, I finished sending the next 2 emails. After I sent that email, I got a reply. And the reply was a denial. There's no way that they can even look at that email, know what it was, process it, and even utter out what it was. 9 times out of 10, they looked at it, saw my name. No. Okay. The reason why I was told later on is because one of my writer friends. The reason why I want to say this, because I don't want to get him in trouble, because he's a really good friend. One of my writer friends who works there said that the reason why they rejected you and they won't take your calls is because they don't like you. Not that I don't do the work. Not that I don't do the things that I say that I'm going to do. If I say I'm going to do something for you, I'm going to do it. Not that I'm going to do those things. All right? Because they don't like you. Now, I never met them. Other than maybe an email, how you doing? Mm-hmm. Yada, yada, yada. I've never, as many times I've gone to San Diego Comic-Con, I've only met 2 people from this company. 2. And those 2 dudes are my friends who put me on to get work there in the first place, who went to bat for me in the first place. The other people that make the decisions have no idea. I've never met these cats, but they don't like me. You know? So all that to say, the dude who used to go in and be like, man, I just want to do the work and I just love the comics. That's the dude who does Shinobi Ninja Princess every night. The guy who sits down and is just like, man, I really love this story. These characters are coming to life. This is for the kids. This is for the people who understand that Saturday morning cartoons used to be something that we used to wake up in the morning and we used to look at it from 4 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock in the afternoon with a bowl of cereal, and we loved it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's for them. But the dude who, after I put that down and I go and I sit and I think about things and I say, hey, should I go and submit this to somebody? And I'd be like, nah, I'm keeping this for myself because I'm building my own brand. That's the dude that's now. That's the dude who wasn't there before. All right. 9 times out of 10, when Quinn met me the first time, he met the other guy. He met the guy who was like, hey, man, guess what? It's great. All right. Had he met me now, I probably would be like, hey, dog, don't do it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? No, but seriously, I mean, for real, I mean, you have to have, you know, especially a person of color, trans, you doing a gay story, anything like that, boy, just like we talked about, William, you gotta know going in the front end that it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard, you know, and that's something I was not prepared for. I wasn't.
With me, so like, I'm always going to be the kid that loves to tell stories. That's always going to be who I am. I think the thing that evolved was I'll learn whatever I need to learn to get where I got to get. So things that I wasn't strong at first, I would just learn them out of the necessity of having to do like for me, I take those things kind of on the chin because I want to do the work. There's a great Dave Chappelle joke from early in his career where he talks about being in a car with a white friend, right? Mm-hmm. And he ends up racing inadvertently with a police officer. Right. The police officer pulls him over, and you know he sees the guy is white, and so he gives him a warning. And the guy, he says his white friend turns to the cop and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know I could do that." And then they pull off, and then they're driving, and he looks and he said, "Dave, did you like that? Because I did know I couldn't do that." I try to live on the balance of that guy. I came into this drawing with my finger on an iPad version 1, kind of as a lark, right? You know this story. It's exactly how the Wonder Show started. Right. Kind of as a lark, right? Just doing it because it was an exercise in me doing the thing to kind of keep from maddening myself. And I didn't know how much trouble I had thrusted myself into. And so I'm a Marine. So we adapt and we overcome after improvising. So it's like, oh, well, yeah, these are nice drawings, but they're all done at 72 DPI. What's a DPI, right? Like, so I had to learn a lot of this stuff because I was a pen and paper guy. So I think what gave me an advantage is kind of being a little too slow not to quit, because that's how I met Brandon Easton. Brandon Easton, if you don't know him, might seem like a very grumpy person, like talking about kind of the before and after of it all. Brandon is very much post-happy person to be writing. So I would read his blog articles and they felt like threats. Like, if you're not going to do your work and you're not researching and you're not studying your craft, and get the hell out of here. It was like, oh man, like, do I even want to be here? So I kind of came in willing to learn. I kind of came in willing to pay attention to what people wanted from the people that they were working with. And I tried to be that. So for me, it's like I say, like I've had experiences in my life that are much more stressful than, say, a deadline for a drawing. So for me, all of this is great. This is ridiculously, you know what I'm saying? Like, the pressure in other stages of my life for things that I had to do, the consequences for not handing a thing over or having it are so much more drastic than maybe a strongly worded letter. And I'm a man of my words. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'll turn your drawings over. That's not a problem. But I think the thing that I try to stay encouraged about is the fact that, hey man, this is all first world stuff we're talking, right? Drawings and kind of like it's kind of a blessing. None of us are at FedEx doing backbreaking kind of manual labor in that kind of malaise that a lot of our folks are in, right? Like, a lot of us are fortunate. We've seen some college or whatever. So we're kind of on the other end of the bubble in that regard. For me, this fight is all about hope. For me, it's always been about the exact same thing. When I was 5, 6 years old, it was Halloween. It was during the time where the masks were cheap plastic with that slit in the mouth that would cut you, and then it do the thing around your eyes where you had welts. Like, it was that. And so you dress up as Superman, right? And you put on the mask, and I even made my folks give me some red dingo boots. We had to go down to Country Western store. I made them get with it. We had to handle it. You walk out that door and your hands look like this, right? Mm-hmm. And the only black dude in the whole movie just said, "Say, Jim, that's a bad outfit." And you feel the limit to who you are in the world. And so it's about making sure that no little brown dude feel like that he don't have an option.
Right.
You want to be Cyborg, that's your bag, do your thing. For me, personally, he's 3/5 of a man, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? You want to be the Signal. If you want to be any of them cats, you got the right to do that. And it's a beautiful time that we're in where, we get to see Spider-Man. I remember the old TV show. So we're all winning. Like we like to complain. We like to act like it's bad out here, but nobody's really settling anymore. Like 20 years ago, if the Joker killed Batman's parents, you just got to roll with it. You got no choice. Dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. So we're in a time where comics are pretty accurate, where the effects are catching up, and where rightfully so, Black boys and girls get to see themselves. So I try to take the positive out of it, but I'm always vigilant, because that's what heroes do, right? Keep our eye out for when somebody's doing wrong. And when somebody needs us, be prepared to be there. So we all fulfilling our role in that end of it. You know what I'm saying? But we know it's a game. We know they out to get us. We know that we're not paranoid. So it's important for us to tell these stories. I don't be one to rant about it, but there's a seriousness, even to I used to debate with myself about making a character be bulletproof. How dangerous is the precedent around that? Right? I worried on the episodes of Luke Cage where he wore a hood. The prescient danger around even the fantasy of putting your hands on your hips and bullets bouncing off of your chest is almost a little much when it comes to us. So I'm never lost in sight of that. I'm never out of sight of that, but I try to err on the side of hope.
So the one thing I used to worry about, and this is kind of off subject, is like when I used to like the Luke Cage show, but when he did that, and if there were bystanders around, and one of those ricochets hit a bystander, then he in trouble. And nobody's gonna blame the dude shooting. They're gonna blame Luke Cage. You know what I'm saying?
Being bulletproof, right?
Yeah, he's a black dude with the hood on. So I was like, oh man, I see where this comes. But they never did it. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something. Let's just roll.
Yeah. We got over on them. Yeah.
Right. Got over. Woo.
Right. And then they canceled it. Right. And then they. So all that being said, the thing I take away from that is the business aspect of it, right? And that's just the case with everything. Like even if it's something you love, and then when the suits are involved, everything changes, right? The love goes away. So do you encourage those who aspire to get in the game to go indie, or almost, it's almost like I almost liken it to, we're all old enough to remember when your parents gave you advice. It was go to school, get an education, and go get a job. Mm-hmm. Where now it behooves us now as parents or mentors or whatever the case may be to advise the youth to start your own. Have an entrepreneurial spirit about you. Now you may have to get a job just to, before you get that thing on the goal. The aspiration is to be your own boss. So is that the same message that you convey to those who aspire to get into the game as a result of what you've learned?
Absolutely.
I think so. I mean, from my point of view, I mean, that has, I don't think that has ever changed for me though. That's the one thing I will say that old Martheus would tell people was that, and this is, I think this might speak to more of a, more from the fact that I worked like at ad agencies. I've seen how ad agencies are run. I see how much branding and how much marketing means to a thing, you know what I'm saying? And I think one of the problems with comics itself is the fact that the comics marketing is off, and the industry-wide marketing has been completely backwards and off. It only is marketed to a certain group of people, and those people right now are about to not die off, but they're getting older, and a lot of disposable income is not around, so the market share is dying and dying and dying and dying. So marketing wise, I've always been a guy, create your own and let them come to you afterwards. So you build yourself as being successful. You build yourself as being the place to be, and then let Marvel, let DC come to you, because now with older Martheus and the guy who's married and has the kid who's 11, I look at myself and I look at the things that I've done for other companies, and even though they're great, I can't give that to Anakin later on. Even if I did a Batman story right now, right? Unless that Batman story got made into like a movie or a TV show or animated feature where I made some type of residuals off of or something like that, I cannot do anything with that Batman story that's going to benefit Anakin later on. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the only way that really, and I think this is something to our culture, to Black people, you know what I mean? Because I think this is something that, you knock them or not, you say what you want, but, Asian culture has really done this, to a certain degree, kind of successfully. Jewish culture has done this to a certain degree, and the Hispanic culture is doing this right now, to a certain degree. And that is generating wealth for their family by doing for themselves. So getting money that is being able to be transferred down. That means creating something, a job, a market, something that you control, your own business that you can give to your kid later on. Your kid can build on top of that, make money, graduate from college, build that business up, give that to their kids. You got generational wealth right there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Built off the back of something that you created, and it's helping your kids and your kids' kids all the way down the line. Okay, so that's the reason why I always tell people build. The buzzword now is brand. Right. Build your brand. If you are inside of a comic book and you got an idea for a comic book and you do not have an artist, you don't have a writer, you want to get this thing done, find a writer, find your artist, team up with them, get something that you guys can agree on, okay, and start building your brand. Start building a thing so that you can generate your own wealth later on. Because guess what? If one of my properties, right now, me and Anakin are working on a book together, all right? It is something that we're really excited about. We've been talking about this thing for a long time, coming up with characters. We finally got the whole roster of heroes completely done, right? Last week, I finally put them all together. We looked at them all together and we were like, dang, this looks really good, you know? But what if that is picked up in a comic book? The comic book leads it to a toy. The toy leads it to or the comic book leads it to a Netflix series. Netflix series leads it to a limited run toy. The limited run toy is successful enough to get a season 2. Okay. You could effectively, with 2 seasons, go into syndication after that. After syndication, maybe you come out with another specially run toy. Okay. And now you got a quasi Avatar: The Last Airbender on hand, where you are not actively working on that project. That project is working for you at that point. That brand that you set up, that you put your time and effort in to build on the front end, is now working for you. I'm working on another project. He's working on, Anakin is probably at this point in high school or working or outside of high school, getting ready to go to college. But that property is still working for us. It's still generating residuals for us. On the flip side, if I got the best paying gig right now at Marvel and DC, immediately I would feel the financial growth from that, because I'll get a page rate. I would get, depending on if a character was done in there that I had some kind of hand in making come up with, I might get like a little bit of creative, blow back from that. I'll get some comics. I would be able to go to cons and be like, oh, he was the artist on Batman number 139.
And you get paid for that.
What'd you say?
And you get paid for even appearing at Comic-Con. Right.
Right. I'll get paid for that. But at the end of the day, when Batman 139 goes away, in about 2 years' time, I'm back at square one. I'm back knocking on editors' doors, trying to be able to say, hey, I'm still here. I'm still viable. I can still do work. At that time, Anakin's in high school. I haven't built anything for him, because I can't give him this stack of drawings over here and tell him, hey, go sell these because you're going to make some money. That's not how anybody builds wealth for their family. So if somebody was getting into this, going back to the question, if somebody was getting into this now, you build your own stuff. You work on your own story. You work on your own characters, because contrary to popular belief, this industry is big enough to tell your story. It's big enough to tell the story that you want to tell. It's not just Marvel. It's not just DC. It's not just superheroes. Okay. It is big enough to tell the story that you want to tell. So you might as well, if you're going to spend all that time working on your stuff, on somebody else's stuff, spend that time, that energy, and that money, putting it back to and investing in yourself.
Word.
No.
I largely I agree. I think now is the great gold rush of the mind. I think it's become clear kind of across the board that intellectual property is the way. We're at this really weird nexus where attention spans are shorter. So kind of the amount of time it takes to get the goodwill that you want from your IP is much shorter. Whereas, 20 years ago, you would need about 20 years to build your IP to a point where people can recognize it. Now that's become much more reduced. In about 10 years, after about 10 years, you can put on a flannel shirt, stand in front of a log cabin and put your foot up on a stump and hold a mug of coffee and go, we still make our comics the way we used to. And you look like you have been around for long enough to be an entity. So it's absolutely true that you need to go with your own IP because the bigger IPs have already drawn their lines in the sand. Marvel belongs to Disney. Disney now owns, whatever, a third of your childhood or whatever. They got Transformers and Avatar. They got all, and DC is over there with Warner Brothers, and they've got all of their stuff lined up. They got their Charlie Brown and their HBO Max. So all of those big IPs are there. And you're not going to be able to eat at that trough. You would only be folded in, given a check, and dismissed. So if you want to carve out a space in a future landscape, you absolutely need to make your own stuff. There's no better time than now. But also speaking to kind of, because I think we do this a lot, we casually kind of say, well, these other groups are doing these things around their financial ability. As though we woke up collectively and said, I'm going to go live in the hood and not do nothing. Especially now, it bears notice that we are a few days removed from the anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. It's important to remember that every time collectively in history that we decided post-slavery and Reconstruction, we'll build our own thing for ourselves, that people get very upset and then they come with torches, the old-fashioned ones, not tiki torches, real torches, like mobs used to do. And they'll burn it to the ground. So when you burn a thing down a bunch of times, when you make it illegal to be married and get assistance a bunch of times, when you make it illegal for the man to live in the house so you have to hide the shoes and kick the husband out a bunch of times, I'm not saying that it's all, we're blameless and we have no accountability. But I think that there's been an intentionality around the situations that we're in that needs to be reversed. So I also think that part of our job as storytellers is to make those guideposts visible, right? And I think that that's reinforced when you look at Martheus's art. You can see the touchstones about family, about, the very things that he's talked to us about all night, building generational wealth. Same thing with the content that I make. Trying to show people who may not be able to make those connections, who might not readily have all of their information at their fingertips because it's not naturally inclined with us. We got to show what it looks like to have community work together. That's the reason why and you can ask Martheus, I'm always yelling at him online, make your post shareable, because I make it my business to share. I don't give a damn who it is, right? My job.
I'm horrible.
Yeah. I know. That's the reason why I say something. But my attitude is like this. I can't compete with Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They've been around for 100 years. They got more capital than me. I'm just RC Cola. So my job is not to try to keep up with Pepsi and Coke. My job is to make sure that Mr. Pibbs gets a doctorate. You understand what I'm saying? We have to work with the group and class that we're with, and we have to show our audience what community functions like, so that audience can learn to become a community. And then those discussions around building that wealth can not only be had, but they can be exhibited, and there are models to follow, and there is a template that we can lay out with the entertainment that we make, because there's been a template laid out for us with the entertainment that we consume. How many times, countlessly, have you seen a white vigilante get onto a subway train with 3 ethnics, all wearing sleeveless vests. One got on a feather earring, the other got on a headband. We get fed information over and over and over about who we are and how we look and how we function in the world. So we have to not only as businessmen counter that narrative by making sure that we get into collective economies, but we have to show our people that that's the way that it's going to work, because we have to give them something to model that behavior after. And it's subtle and it'll take time, but I think that's the other half of what our job is. Mm-hmm. But to answer the question, yeah, go indie all the way and get your money.
These are conversations that, quite honestly, man, we could have all night. I mean, we could do a week's worth of podcasts, probably a month's worth, depending on the perspectives and the knowledge and the wisdom, possessed or exhibited here. Man, I just want to thank y'all again, man, for just providing that insight. Selfishly, I ask a lot of those questions for me, quite honestly, but realizing that there's some talented youth out there and some talented Black youth, more than likely, that might be looking at this and wanting to know, and it's all about providing wisdom for them, so they can go into the game armed with what they need to in order to succeed. I mean, even though it's a love that you guys have, man, and I know I'm probably echoing something that you already know, but you guys are providing a service, man, and not in the aspect of just giving someone something entertaining to read or entertaining to look at visually, but you're providing a service. When you mention the things such as generational wealth and building things for you, that also adds a sense of self-fulfillment. That you don't need a greater entity to provide validation for what you're doing, and for that, I can't express the amount of appreciation I have for what you guys are doing, and to continue to just keep on doing it, because quite honestly, it inspires me. Because those who may not know already, I'm kind of a fledgling and aspiring author, because I can't draw a stick man. So I need y'all, you know what I'm saying, if I write anything. So I appreciate you guys, and I'm sure that those that are listening could say the same. Rose, I don't have anything. If you have anything to add as we wrap up.
We definitely have to do a part 2 to this, because there were some more questions I wanted to ask about the industry that just always it's always gnawing at the back of my brain. So I'll reserve. Well, we have to just come back and do a part 2 to this.
Okay.
So
we will contact you for your availability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Again, thank you all for listening. Those of you that support us on patreon.com/EST1982 podcast, we appreciate your support. You can also hit the website up, EST1982podcast.com. And one more time, fellas, the artists in the room, just plug the stuff that you have going on just one more time as we book in that.
Okay. Well, you can find me on I'm always on Instagram. My personal Instagram is Martheus AW. My studio Instagram is you just check Toshigawa Universe. So you just look up that. It's TOSHIGAWA and Universe afterward. You can my website is ToshigawaUniverse.com. Just like on Facebook as well, you can look up Toshigawa Universe and you can find my stuff. We have pretty much the things that we have going on right now is like Shinobi Ninja Princess, which is our all ages book. It's out in Amazon, and you can find it in in on digital on Comixology, or you can find it in bookstores across the U.S. And we also do a YouTube show called Wade's World, where me and my son and my wife, we play video games together. We do artwork together. We make fun of each other together. We even have an occasional visit from a puppet or two. So we on there, so you can check us out. Check us out there. And last but not least, if you want to look up my graphic design and things like that, look up Mall Production Designs, and it's .com, and that's my corporate face. So check that out, and I'll be talking to you guys. If you guys want to talk to me, man, I'll be ready to talk again, man. Just let me know.
Will do.
Quinn.
Yeah, so if you're looking for me on Facebook, I'm Quinn McGowan on Facebook. I'm Q324 on Instagram, and I'm Memphis Quinn on Twitter. Whenever you're looking for Wildfire, you can find new webcomics every Wednesday on operative.net, because I'm a part of the Operative Network. I'm currently rebuilding my site, and that's going to be happening alongside of some stuff that we're preparing for Redacted and the other project that we're doing called Redacted. So it's a bunch of junk that I can't work on right now, or I can't tell you about right now that I'm working on, but you can find me on social media, Making Racist Dangerously Afraid, or making cartoons that are trying to make the world a better place. And occasionally I have an opinion that's worth something. So check me out there. Also, you can look up Memphis Quinn on YouTube, because that's the home of my new talk show that, again, was a total accident and has grown terribly, terribly out of proportion. It's called the Mighty Quinn Quarantine Wonder Show. Ryan Rowland is actually the show's producer and is partially responsible, so you can always yell at him. If you want to know who's partially responsible for that. So I'd also like to send to the Wade family, we should probably do a Quarantine Wonder Show crossover.
That'd be cool, man. I'll be down for that, because half the time it'll just be me yelling at Anakin to sit down somewhere. Stop bouncing your ball so much. Stop doing.
That's cool. I can have the boys over and they'll not speak to me, so it'll be great. Let's give it a few more years. They go into a sullen phase.
I know.
Well, man, again, thank you guys. Thank you all for those listening, watching, and continue to support. And it looks like we're going to have to do this part 2. So
for sure.
For that, as we make that happen, we'll try to set that thing up logistically as soon as we can. So until next time, people, we'll holler at you.